This spreadsheet contains 50 qualified leads sorted into tiers, each one with a note explaining why it deserves a cold email. Claude built this in only 4 minutes while I was microwaving my burrito, and the data cost only 20 cents. Meanwhile, most of us still do business research the way Michael Scott does accounting, by hand with total confidence, and somehow it takes the whole day. 40 browser tabs, a spreadsheet named Final V3, and at the end of it, a big feeling instead of a concrete plan. My name is Marcus Suder, and I run one of the largest international Skool communities for Claude. I spent well over 500 hours and thousands in API credits to build these business workflows, and today I'm giving it all away to you for free. Prompts I use, best outputs, and of course, cheap but high quality data. First thing we need is to have Claude with access to Claude Cowork installed on our PC, an Apify account which gives us $5 of free usage per month. Setup takes about 60 seconds and you can see how to connect Apify and Claude on the screen right now. One spoiler, $5 that Apify gives us should be more than enough to run all 5 workflows I'm showing you today. If in future you scale these workflows cost the free tier, I'll add the code with 20% discount in the description. With this being said, let's continue to our first workflow called lead machine. Everybody wants lead generation, which is funny because lead generation is the worthless half of the job. Scraping 100 businesses with Claude takes literally one prompt. And congratulations! You now own a CSV of strangers. The money is in qualification or knowing which 20 of those strangers should hear from you, and that's the part that used to eat your afternoon. But after I show you this amazing automation, this won't be the case anymore. Assuming that this is the first time that you're using Claude on your desktop, I need to show you how to set up the project in Cowork. Just for your information, I'm going to be setting up the project with our first workflow, and this is the same blueprint that we're going to be using for the rest of the workflows in this video. To create a project, we first need to make sure that we're in the Cowork section of the Claude. Right now we're in the chat and there is projects here, but this is not the projects that we're interested in at. So we need to navigate to Cowork, and then from here we need to go to projects. When we're in this tab, we click on new project, and then here we start from scratch. For the project name, we put lead machine, as that's the name that I gave to this workflow. We put these instructions, which you can also find in my Skool community, and the link for the community you can find in the description of this video. After we put the name and instructions, we don't need to add any files and we can leave the default location. We just need to click create. Cowork automatically takes us to the project we just created and we can immediately start prompting it. But let's first go over the workflow that I just gave you so we know what's going to happen. In this case, we're going to use Apify's Google Maps scraper to pull up 50 businesses with names, rating, review counts, websites, phone addresses, the usual stuff that you do when you want to get leads. We're going to then build Excel file with outreach targets and one-line reason why we need to target those companies. At the end, we're also going to get the total cost of this, just so you can see how cheap this is. That's pretty much it, so we can close this and we can send the prompt to Claude. The important thing here is that we have instructions, so our prompt can only be one-liner, because our Cowork already knows all of this on our every prompt, so we don't need to repeat ourselves. In this case, I want Matt's Paz in Austin, Texas, so let's see the output that we're going to get. Cowork is finished with running our workflow and we got final results. In this Excel sheet, we can see businesses with tierings, ratings, review counts, websites, and all other information that we requested. Apart from that, we can also see outreach targets or the businesses that we need to contact with a reason why we need to contact them. So this is the part which actually required the most time, and with Claude it only took me around 2 to 3 minutes to finish all of this. And at the end we get summary, which just summarizes everything that Claude did for us. As I said, this whole run costed only around 20 cents, which is nothing for this kind of information. And as I said, you can find both project description and prompt in my Skool community. And now we can move to our second automation called Ad Spy. This workflow runs on a fact Meta would prefer you forget, and that's that their ad library is public. Every ad any page is running is sitting right there free to look at. Apify's official ad library scraper can find winning ads without a problem. This data actually hides a cheat code. Companies kill losing ads within days because nobody pays to lose money. So an ad that has been running for 100 days straight is a confession. That thing prints money and we can modify it and reuse it. Let's take a look at the instructions of our Ad Spy workflow. We're basically telling it to analyze our competitors and then for each competitor give us the report. The report will consist of number of active ads, the longest running ad, and how long it has been live. We're also prompting it to treat ads that run more than 90 days as winners. And for each report, it will give us what I'd steal section with 3 concrete ideas for testing. Here are some of my competitors, and I found their Facebook URLs, and we're giving it to our coworker for analysis. We can hit start and see what happens. That spy workflow has finished with running, and we got the results here. Pretty much none of our competitors is running any ads right now, except for Liam Otley, and our system found that he's actually running ads but with a different account where he has 21 active ads. In this competitive ad intelligence report, we have interesting facts like what I'd steal, which is the section I mentioned at the beginning. And for example, for Skool AI, we have that we should not steal anything from their ads because they prove that AI education buyer is cheap to reach on YouTube and expensive on Meta. This is an interesting insight for me, so I'll definitely take this in consideration in future. And then from Nick Sarab, we have the insight that we should be someone else's case study, as this is the single longest running ad in this entire pool, is someone else using Nick's result as a proof. So yeah, pretty much this workflow gives us really cool intelligence, and this is definitely saving us a lot of hours, I'm not gonna lie. 2 workflows in and the pattern is already visible. Apify fetches, the covered things, and you type out 1 sentence and go on with your life. If this is earning its watch time, the like button is right there, and subscribing means you get the advanced version of this later. Let's move to the third workflow called Voice of Customer. Workflow 3 is the one I'd keep if I had to delete the other 4 because it writes your marketing for you using the only copywriter who never misses. Your competitors' 1-star reviews are focus group that pay to be there. 600 people describing in painful detail exactly where the market is bleeding. The only problem was that reading 600 reviews turns your brain into a soup. Claude's brain is already a soup, so let it do this. Project instructions for this workflow are pretty straightforward. Here we are letting coworker know that it should use one of these scrapers from Apify to fetch 200 latest reviews for each of our competitors. Then we're categorizing complaints, collecting exact customer phrases, and then it delivers our final results with the top 3 complaints about our competitors. This is my exact prompt that I use for my competitors analysis for customer voice for AI Automation Academy. And if you want to use the same thing, you should just replace this part, and this part with your business and your competitors. I already ran this workflow, so we're checking the output in a minute. So this workflow finished with execution, and now we can see final results. Our results are spread into 3 categories. So top 3 competitor complaints to attack, threat assessment or what we should not do, and then top 3 praises about my community. Overall, my community is newer than community from my competitors, so we don't have a lot of public data available for my community. But one of the interesting insights I received is that I should not attack Nate directly because he gets 400 worship comments on his posts. It also gives me a viable frame, which is free gets you started and this gets you paid. I read this whole analysis and this pretty much aligns with all the research that I did so far, and I spent well over 1,000 hours on all of my research, combining Claude and manual search, so this is really amazing and I definitely recommend you to use this. This whole thing ran around 40 cents and agencies charge up to 4 figures for something like this. As I said, all of these files you can find in my community. Now let's move to our 4th workflow called Content Reader. This one is especially useful for dumb scrollers. Workflow 4 handles competitors' research on Instagram, which in practice works like a Netflix session. You open it for one specific thing, fall asleep and then wake up 45 minutes later and can't even explain where the time went. Expect Netflix gives you at least a good story, something to talk about with people, while scrolling gives you one vague feeling and 0 plans. This workflow removes that need to dumb scroll to find the content to actually replicate and just gives you that content at one place. I'm not going to dive into details of these instructions. As I said, you have it in Skool, you can read it, but pretty much here we tell our coworker to use Apify's Instagram post scraper to analyze our competition. And then in our prompt, which you can also copy from my Skool community, you can just enter your competitors here and it will give you a full content analysis on Instagram. When I open this analysis, I receive the real numbers. So this is the up-to-date data, and I have recurring themes ranked by frequency, also top 10% posts by engagement, section for what winners share, and content gap analysis. The nicest thing is that it also gives me 5 concrete post ideas, so I don't have to brainstorm those. This was actually the last workflow where you need to do some action like send the prompt. For the next one, everything runs on autopilot. Final workflow, which is, as I said, not really a workflow but more automation, is my favorite pick in the whole video as it can run while I'm asleep. Claude can schedule tasks on its own. You don't need a make subscription, an N8N canvas that looks like Subway map, or Zapier bill that grows every month for a reason nobody at even Zapier can explain. Cowork should schedule tasks in February 2026, and I'm convinced that half of the no-code industry still hasn't checked the release notes. You're already familiar with the drill we're doing here. In these instructions, we're telling our Claude that it's industry intelligence analyst for our specific niche. You can just insert your niche here and it will do industry intelligence for you. It pulls our competitor data from Facebook. It also pulls it from Instagram posts, then compares it to previous briefings and delivers a new briefings. And then it saves it in our projects for future comparisons and also for us to check it out. The way that we make our cowork to make a scheduled task is that we put schedule in front of the prompt that we're trying to run schedule for. In this case, we're going to run a weekly briefing workflow from this project every Monday at 9 a.m. Once we prompt Claude with this, it will make this interactive window where we can click schedule and then it will do work for us. Now, once I click this, I can open it to see how it looks like. And what we see here is that our workflow is active, a description of our workflow, and also instructions that Claude make for us for this workflow. Our workflow is inside this industry monitor project that we made for this automation, and all outputs or briefing documents will be stored inside this folder on our PC. Workflow will repeat every Monday at 9 a.m. So in general, this is one example of automation you can run with Claude, but you can do automation for whatever and run it whenever. In order to make new automations, you would go inside Cowork tab to schedule tab, and then here you would be able to modify your previous automations or make new automations either manually or you can create them with Claude Chat just like we did right now. Thank you for sticking until the end of this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe, and make sure to check out my Skool community in the description of this video, because there you can find all the files and all the instructions you would need for all of these workflows. Apart from the materials from this video, in my Skool group, you will also find the most supportive community. See you there.